Remember the time when we rode? It was so great. Okay, and we're live.
Thank God you're in charge of like all of the intro and the graphics and all of that stuff. Because if it would me, it would just be like, hold on, guys, I just got to do something really quick. Just be messing with this.
The
It'd be like,
sad part for me too is that like you can't see any of it because we're using Skype and I haven't figured out how to pipe it back in. So
why don't you just watch it on YouTube?
well, yeah, I mean, well, I'm saying for you, I could see it, but I'm saying
Oh.
you don't get to see it. Like I was gonna add like stuff where we can do like confetti or something, but you want to get any of the jokes, so.
I guess. So I'm rocking Tangerine to kick off the broadcast tonight.
I've got key lime to start for starters here.
Ooh, very, very seasonal flavor.
Yeah, I discovered this in the Whole Foods in San Francisco when I lived there. Um, we've already got some people in here. That's good. We got Aaron, Sam Jones, Moscow Moto in the house.
Sweet.
It's exciting.
Passion
So
bubbles in hand.
since we did this 2 weeks ago, we skipped a week because there was something that happened in your life. Would you like to just
I
discuss that?
there was a child that was brought into the world.
Okay.
Uh, that was pretty exciting. Like literally the morning after we did our first episode, we went into the hospital, and 26 hours later, we came out with a baby, which is a pretty good time. Pretty scary time to go to the hospital and deal with all that crap, but everything went perfectly, and now we've got a fresh little baby. So it's good.
Nice. So you slept there.
Yeah, they make you sleep at the hospital. Not my favorite bit, but it is significantly less worse than the actual childbirthing part. My wife has
Right.
told me. So, and I mean, I've seen the process, so I kind of take her word for it. But yeah, it's good. Good. We're finally getting some sleep back at the old Hill House, and feeling like somewhat like a human again. So that's why I pinged you this week, and I was like, dude, let's keep it going. We got to keep these bubbles flowing.
Great.
Do you have like a fish tank in your background now?
It looks like that.
What is
But
it?
it's not. It's like it's just one of those like those lights that you can change the color with your phone. It's made by that Lift, that LAFX brand. You know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I actually don't recommend the light, so don't get one. But that's what it is. It disconnects
Okay.
from your Wi-Fi all the time.
Son of
Um,
a.
I have some messages out with some people to like join us on here. Unfortunately, some of them are like sick with the virus, so waiting for like them to heal, and then I think it'd be fun to invite somebody on next time.
Yeah.
But I did have an idea, and that was if we can talk about. I collected a big stack of all the cameras that I've used while
Okay.
motorcycling, and I thought it would be fun to talk about cameras and like what cameras you
Yeah.
use when you bike, like for different things. Like I know you do like some point of view stuff, like first person stuff, but then you obviously take a million other photos and you do articles and stuff for like Upshift Online, and be cool to see like, your workflow and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? You're probably more organized than I am.
I literally have them sitting right here, so yeah, I could pull them
Okay.
out. But
I'm sitting at my like work desk, so I do
yeah,
all my camera shit lives
and
here,
I've
but it's
slept
not
on that
like
floor, so I know right where you're sitting.
yeah, you have.
So I use I go through phases. I actually have two different cameras I use for first person stuff. So, and I always mount it on the chin, and I've been using the GoPro lately, but before that I actually really liked using this guy, which is a Rilo, and it's kind of like a GoPro except the video quality is much worse, but the software is much better. So it's got two lenses on it, front and back, and you typically mount it like, it actually doesn't matter how you mount it, but I like it best like this, and it's a 360-degree camera, so it captures everything, including like your neck. So you gotta, be careful, what how you show that video to other people, because you can get some pretty unflattering like up the nose angles and stuff. But then the software they have on the phone afterwards, after you've recorded this 360 video that's like completely unwatchable, you load it up onto the phone, and then you can control your angle after the fact. So you can set like keyframes and stuff. So you could point, straight ahead, and then maybe you're like about to hit a rock. You can actually pan the camera down and see the rock, and then pan back up again. And if you're going to turn, you could pan the camera kind of into the turn a little bit. So it's kind of cool. The only thing I don't like about it is the quality is really, really bad.
Hmm.
But other than that, it's pretty nice, and the software's on the phone too, so you can edit it, you know, at camp and upload it whenever. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember when you first got that when we were in Utah for the KTM rally, and I was really impressed with how you were able to edit that footage on your phone and get like some really cool usable stuff. So that
Yeah,
was
and you could do
cool.
portrait too, which is kind of cool. So you can make like an story or something for Instagram.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so you can't actually get this anymore because this company was just bought by like I think
GoPro?
Vis. No, I wish. I think it was bought by Visco. You know that like VSCO company. They
Uh-uh.
make this app that's like, it's like photo filters basically.
Hmm.
Um, anyways, I'm pretty sure it's not going to exist anymore now. But there's another company called Instax Insta360 that makes a better version of this camera actually. So
Hmm.
yeah, I might look into that. But so what are you using when you do the first
Uh,
person stuff?
so I use my GoPro 7 Black. I just literally like I forgot to buy it, but I was gonna buy an 8, just a black 8 GoPro today because they were like $100 off, and it seemed like a really reasonable price. I absolutely hated GoPro products until I got this 7. Um, I have no fucking idea why it took them 7 generations to just get the simple stuff right. Like, I want to be able to hit the record button when the thing's off, it comes on, it records, and then I hit the record button again and it turns off. Like, that's all I wanted. And it took them 7 generations to get that right. And then also like the hyper smooth was like the why I went back to GoPro
Mm-hmm.
was because having that, because I was messing around with the GoPro Session and like a gimbal and like you saw that it looked like Alien,
It's
I would have like
yeah, the
this
three
big
axis gimbal that comes off
yeah
here. Jesse
yeah
still uses that on his chin, and it does look better, but it's very unmanageable. I think it's
yeah, it looks weird. And so yeah, I have the 7 now. I'm going to the 8. I always use my Dango Designs chin clip, or I guess it's not just a chin clip, but I always use it, and I either mount it in the chin bar of my helmet or in the center strap of my backpack.
yeah.
And depending on what kind of riding I'm doing, I just switch between the two. But I don't. The footage that I get is usually just like when I anticipate I'm gonna crash or use bad words in my helmet or something, or watch somebody else crash. That's like typically the only time I record stuff.
I have the 7 as well. I have two like sweet pro tips that I've learned about these things. This applies to
Hmm.
all GoPros, but one, um, if you watch most people's GoPro videos, they look like complete garbage, and like especially motorcycle videos, and
Hmm.
that has a large part to do with the fact that we ride like in the middle of the day, and there's like really harsh lighting, and like so super bright sunlight and then super dark shadows at the same time, and it just
Yeah.
looks bad. But two things you can do to improve that is on the GoPro, it lets you do exposure compensation, which means the camera will still try to expose
Hmm.
automatically, but you can tell the camera whatever exposure you think is right. I want you to make this slight adjustment to it. So you can
Yeah.
actually I do one stop of underexposure. So whatever the camera thinks is the correct exposure, it goes under, and that gives you like even if you just do that, it'll already look a little bit better because none of your highlights will be like blown out into whiteness.
Yeah.
Um, but even if that turns out like say you're in an environment where it's not bright, it's still easy to bring that brightness back up and it still looks okay. So I always do that. And then the other tip that I just learned this like a week ago because I saw someone's video and asked about it. And if you want to see videos that use this technique, go check out Luke of Wolf Enduro.
Hmm.
Luke Takahashi. He puts a polarizer on the front of his or not a polarizer,
A filter?
uh, yeah, it's a filter, but it's not a polarizer. It's a
UV?
no. Dang it, what's it called? Here, I have one on this lens here. I could just look at it. It's a ND filter. God, I don't know why that was slipping my mind. So
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
ND filter, which stands for neutral density, and all it does, it's
yeah.
basically like just darkening your image. And what that makes this camera do, if you put this filter on, which is just think of it as like black tinted glass, it'll make the
Yeah, I
picture
mean,
that's coming into your
I
camera
have them
darker.
for my prime lenses. I
Yeah,
use them on my
exactly.
camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great because what it allows your camera to do is this camera, even though it's very small and like only has automatic modes, it has it does have an aperture just like all cameras. And if you
Hmm.
put that tinted glass, that filter in front of it, the
Oh,
aperture
then
gets larger, which gives you a
it can
narrow
run wide open. Yeah.
and your shutter speed in this camera actually goes up, which gives you a ton of extra motion blur. So it actually makes it look like you're going
That's how he
faster.
does it. That's
Yeah,
how he
that's the
does
trick.
it.
So if you watch Luke's videos, it almost looks like he puts like a warp filter on it. But what he's
Right.
doing is he's putting a neutral density filter on, which slows down the shutter speed, which causes a much stronger motion blur. And with these cameras, they're so wide angle that when you add that motion blur, it's like you
Is
look
he
like
gonna
you're going
add to
twice as
like
fast. It's so
he
nice.
blew up his secret, man?
I think it's good to share these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very happy to share this kind of stuff.
I'm gonna
Anyways,
buy one like as
I
soon as
don't
we're
have
done.
one of those for this yet, but I definitely gonna pick one of those up for sure.
Well, let's both order the 8 and get those filters, and then we can complain about the problems with them.
Hmm. Cool. Um, I'm checking to see if we have any like literally everybody answered the question. I should just look at chat when I was having neutral density, neutral density. People were helping. Thank you. Sorry. I was too busy focusing. Anyways, okay, so that's what you use to record your other stuff. What do you use for like just a camera when you're taking pictures?
So my main camera right now is a Sony A7R Mark III. Um, I had the Mark II before that, and I had A6500 before that. So I'm kind of like bought into the Sony system, and I've had this one. It's like January. So I don't know. I like this one a lot better for action photography than the Mark II. Um, I pretty much, I'm always like trying to be a two lens person, but I'm not really a two lens person. Uh, but like right now, my like main squeeze is this 24 millimeter 1.4, uh, super crisp, almost wide. I like it for almost everything moto.
Hmm.
It's really good for the action photography stuff that I do on trips, and also it's pretty compact for like a full size camera. Um, and then the other lens that I usually always have with me is the 70 to 200. I have
Not
no idea,
compact.
not compact at all. So I'm like, I gotta be compact, not so much. But I don't know. I haven't found anything that can replicate this, and I don't bring it with me on everyday rides unless I'm like doing product shots or on trips. I take it with me, um, just because I know I'll be like shooting for content and like marketing shit. But it's not compact. I have no idea how this thing is still in one piece. I've taken it on thousands of miles. I've gotten launched off my bike, all kinds of shit. So I can't speak highly enough of this 70 to 200. It's been very robust. And yeah, so those are that's my one body that I own right now, and the two lenses. I'm thinking about getting another 3/4 crop sensor, Sony, like A6300 or something like that, and then like a 35 mil prime. Just and that would be like more of my like point and shoot type of camera.
So
But yeah,
smaller.
yeah, yeah. Or one of the Sonys that you were carrying in Colorado.
Yeah.
I wanted to
That's
wrap.
what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, go for it. Well, you talk about
The
that.
these are awesome. This is like this camera looks like it sucks if you look at it. It's like looks like a little point and shoot or whatever, and it that's exactly what it is. It's literally a point and shoot. But it is such when I learned about this, it blew my mind because of what this camera is. The lens is made by Zeiss, which is a very well-known lens manufacturer. They make a lot of like excellent photo lenses. They make a lot of excellent cinema lenses. They make great lenses, like not in terms of just build quality, but like the optics are nice, like little, not a lot of flaring, just very high quality, very sharp. And so this has a Zeiss lens in it, and and not only that, but the aperture that this lens has is actually very large for a camera like this. So this has a zoom lens. This particular camera comes in, I think, like 7 different versions. It's been around forever. This is version
Honestly,
5.
that's been the hardest part for me. Like I've almost bought them a couple times, but there's
Yeah.
so many goddamn versions. I'm like, is this the one that I want? You know,
Yeah, I
so
think
it's been
like
kind
I want to say almost, like maybe 8 or 9 years, maybe almost 10 years they've been making these. But and they just recently launched yet another version of it. And the funny thing is they're all very similar. So but slightly different enough that it matters what version you get, especially with price. So if you get like version 1 or version 2, you can get these for less than $100. If you
yeah.
get the version that I have, which in my opinion, after looking at the big matrix and like choosing all the stuff that I like of all the different versions on Wikipedia or wherever I found it, I got version 5, or version V is what it'll look like when you're looking
Hmm.
for it. And um, the form factor's similar in all of them. They all have this little, like flip up and up screen. It just goes up and down. It doesn't go to the side. The sensor's in the same, so the image quality you're getting is going to be about the same. The main difference with them is their video capabilities and the lens that's on it. So they're all great lenses, but this version has a 24 to 70 equivalent focal length, which is a great range. It's, like you were just saying, you have a 24, so this will go as wide as 24, and then it'll go as far as 70 millimeters, which is good for like a portrait or getting like that nice blurry background when you're taking pictures of your bike in front of a tree or whatever. And
Hmm.
and the other benefit of this version is the aperture on it's quite large. So it's has a f1.8, which means you could take pictures in very dark environments and you can get nice, thin depth of field, get that like, that nice professional, iPhone portrait, but the real deal kind of version on your
Right.
cameras. So I really like this because it has a lot of the benefits of like this camera, which is freaking huge, but it fits in a pocket in my vest. and
Mm-hmm.
every vest I've owned. So it's so nice, and the battery lasts forever. I've never had to charge a battery on a trip. Yeah, really like it, and it also, of course, shoots in RAW as well, so you can edit your photos to your heart's content afterwards. Uh, yeah, that's it. As far as the video stuff, this does do 4K video, but I've never used it for that. But the video is quite good.
I need to get
Highly
one
re-
of those.
highly recommended. This is $400 for version 5. You can get earlier versions for less than $100, or you can get later versions and spend like $1,200, but they're not really that much better, so there's not a point to do that.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that too. Like, if you broke that camera on a trip, like you wouldn't be like gutted. Whereas like if you were carrying that Canon, or if I snapped this in two, like that would give me pause. I
Right,
would
yeah.
I would be a little bit I would be a little bit sad about it.
Do you have insurance? Do you have camera insurance on that?
Fuck no.
You should do
Why
that.
would I?
It's very inexpensive.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like
God
something that
damn
would
it.
cost a lot of money, but like I've insured like almost all of my electronics, and I think I spend like $200 a year, but that's for almost everything I own. So yeah,
Okay.
for just your camera, it's probably gonna be like
We
30
should just
bucks or
call this.
something.
We should call this like podcast, like Chris teaching Spencer things that he should be doing. Yeah, like I said, I've been carrying around this 70 to 200 for like 2 years, and nothing bad's happened to it. So why would something happen now? But yeah, I need to do that. But a
uh,
$400 camera is good.
yeah, and
It
there's
gets
not
it's
there's
that kind of
not
quality.
not a lot of compromises. It's very really the only bad thing that I can say about this camera is if you notice when you turn it on, see the lens there, it just kind of zooms out, it pops out. As
It's a
you're
little.
zooming, as you're zooming, that's what it does. It just kind of moves in and out, and then you turn it off and it collapses again, which is nice. It has a built-in lens cover and everything. But the bad part about that is and I've never had this issue where I usually ride, but if I go visit somebody in like Nevada or California and I ride with them, this is like you can get dust in here, and it's
Hmm.
it's it's like pretty annoying to. I haven't had any issues with it, but just seeing dust go inside as you're closing it is just that's got to be a problem someday. I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure of it.
Maybe you
Uh,
could get. I mean, you could ride with it in like a little waterproof satchel or something like that. I
well,
don't know.
while it's off, that's fine. It's only just once you've turned it on, it expands, and then people blow
Yeah.
by you because you're trying to get good photos, and then you're just like
Oh yeah.
covered in dust. So
That's always fun when you're holding a camera, you're lined up, and somebody like comes by you in a sand wash, and then they know you're there taking photos and trying to look cool or something. They shoot up a bunch of. I'm thinking of Wendell Mackey has done that to me on several occasions where I'm like, oh, this is fucking great. I love this. I love when sand gets in my camera.
yeah. Well, everybody has about 2 times the skill level when they see you have a camera. So
Yeah. Or either that or half. Bad things happen. Like, and I'm the asshole that sets up at rallies and events that I'm shooting and stuff like that. I'll totally just find like difficult obstacles and then
mhm.
just go set up somewhere, and yeah, it's fun to watch the carnage. When I shot the Virginia City Grand Prix last April about this time, I just found the biggest, nastiest hill climb on the course, and then like throughout the day, I just kind of like moved farther and farther up the hill, and I got just these epic shots of guys looping out and
Mhm.
running over each other and stuff. It was great.
Okay, cool. So now I know what camera you use. When you're at like an event or on like a trip, you're always posting photos. So what do you? And I know you don't carry a laptop. Well, so what's your process for that?
My process is this guy. This is a simple Apple accessory card reader for my iPhone, and I can just pop it in, and it allows me to import raw files from my Sony into Lightroom Mobile.
Hmm.
So I import full size
Which
to
is free,
Lightroom.
right? Lightroom
Yeah,
Mobile's free. Yeah.
uh, It might be, but I pay for Lightroom because I have
Yeah.
it on my
It's
computer
free.
and
I think
stuff.
the,
So
the app like the app is free, but you have to pay for that particular app. You have to pay for like the cloud storage part. So it'll automatically like save your photos for you on in the cloud as a backup.
right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, the app is free, so that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like mobile Lightroom. I was much more proficient in the mobile version than the desktop version for like a pretty long time. Uh, so yeah, I do that on trips, and then I export them to my camera roll, and it allows me to post photos that don't have a big drop off in quality, and I can edit things like on the fly, like photos from that day or whatever. So yeah, that's what I use.
And when you edit in your Lightroom app, do you have like process that you use, or do you have like a preset or like a filter, or do you do anything special in
Not
there, or are you just like
not
just dragging
usually
sliders around till it looks good to you?
not usually on trips. I don't usually have a preset set up, because I kind of just like laying in my tent and like messing with stuff. Like at night, I'll literally lay in my tent and edit like 10 photos or whatever. And I just kind of do it for funsies. But when I get home, then I usually kind of figure out what like the lighting was like for one day or whatever, and I can come up with a pretty close preset if I'm editing, like 20 or 30 photos or something like that. How about you? Do you use Lightroom too, right?
Yeah. I Lightroom has a so I'm sure you know this, but if anyone doesn't, there's like multiple versions of Lightroom because Lightroom has been around a long time. But
Mm-hmm.
then Adobe decided to make their software a subscription service. And so when they did that, they created a new version of Lightroom called Lightroom CC.
Mm-hmm.
And what this version is it's kind of the same as Lightroom has always been, except it doesn't want you to use your computer's hard drive, basically. Everything that you edit or put into that piece of software, it stores on their servers, and then you pay for that storage. So like you can, they have like 5 terabyte plans, whatever, 10 terabyte plans. If you're like a professional photographer, this will never work because you just like, you go to a wedding, you take like bajillion gigabytes, and you just can't do that. But for people who don't take that many photos, or just are like hobbyists, it's actually kind of cool because I have a similar process to you, except like when I'm in the truck, I use the iPad actually, just because it's a much bigger screen, but it's the same application. And I use the iPhone when I'm on the bike. But when anything I put in there that I take off the camera automatically uploads the next time I'm connected to the internet, and it's available on my computer when I get home as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the syncing works the other way as well. So all the photos I have at home from like a previous trip or whatever are on my phone anyway. So if I'm just like want to post a picture, and I've already got like all my stuff sitting there that I is not even downloaded on my phone at the time, but I could browse it all and just click a photo, and then it downloads and you can edit it. Another reason I use it is because it synchronizes. I do use a preset for my photos, and that's just to give them like a similar look.
Mm-hmm.
And that preset syncs. So if I'm on the desktop or on the phone, I can make my photo look pretty much exactly the same by
Yeah.
pressing a button. So it's very convenient.
Give it that Hanka look.
Yeah, 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 no, yeah. It's
Uh,
it's actually supposed to. It's kind of. So I went through this phase where I used film, and when I first started doing the truck stuff, I used like nothing but film,
I
and
remember.
the film, and I still have a film camera, but I don't use it that much anymore because it's really expensive to develop film. But the presets that I'm using are actually made by our wedding photographer. His name is Kirk Maston, and he bought this Fujitsu. It's a Fuji. Um, shoot, what's the version called? It's a Fuji Frontier. That's what it is. It's the film scanner that every wedding photographer uses. Like if you go to like the super cool hipster wedding photographers nowadays, they're all shooting in film, and most of them are doing this thing called hybrid, where they're gonna have like this nice film medium format camera that they use, like these giant cameras. It's called medium format because the film's like literally this big. It's humongous,
Oh yeah.
like a Hasselblad or Pentax or something, and they'll be shooting with these film stocks that are a similar film stock that I really like Fujifilm, Fuji 400H, Kodak Ektachrome, and or Ektar, and so Kirk Maston is a very well-known wedding photographer, and so he bought one of these scanners and took a bajillion photos with his camera and on film, and he built these presets to match the results of scanning the film on that scanner, and then he made profiles for specific cameras. So that's what I use. Anyways, that was a kind of a rant, but I love it. It looks just like when I take a picture with a film camera or any, like even this thing, and then take that raw photo and put it through there. It puts the right curves on it and everything. It just looks awesome. I love it. So
Nice.
that's all I do, and then I'll adjust the exposure and white balance a little bit.
Yeah. Very cool. Um, yeah. So you've gone through different phases where you've used a bunch of. So you never take a big camera with you on moto trips, right?
No, no,
Because like the last trip we did in Colorado, you just brought the little Sony,
yeah.
um, and but you bring your Canon, right, on your truck trips, right?
Yes, on the truck, it's like a whole nother world. I mean, I can bring whatever I want. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll bring a big camera and stuff because it's easy just to grab it and go out and take a picture. But yeah, on the bike, it's like I don't even have a place to put the camera if it's big. Because I've never had a tank bag before, and I think that's where most people put it. Because if I don't have room in a backpack, if I put it in a luggage in the back, I don't ever take pictures because I already feel bad stopping to take pictures, and then if I gotta like undo my luggage and stuff, I haven't figured out a good method. How do you carry a camera? Your camera's huge. Do you use a
Yeah.
tank bag? I forgot. Or no, or you
Yeah.
have a bag on the back or what?
No, I don't. So I went through a phase where I carried it in tank bag, and I'll sometimes do that if I'm not riding anything like aggressive or whatever. I have this camera cube that was made by like Wander, I think is the
Mm.
company, uh, with like too many R's. I think that's how they spell their name. Anyways, like Peak Designs makes a camera cube like this, and a couple other companies. And I found that camera cube to be super handy in pretty much any of the backpacks that I ride with. Like this is the Climb Knack Pack, and that camera cube just slides right in there. And typically, what I do is I have it set up right now to fit my 70 to 200 in the bottom,
Mm.
and then have my camera body with the 24 millimeter in the top with like some extra crap in the middle. But I can change the configuration on the fly. So if I'm just shooting with like the 70 to 200, I can change it on the fly and store the other lens and have it's got a top access. So when it's down in my backpack, then I can just reach in, grab it, take a couple shots, put it back in, and then it's on my back. So it's pretty heavy, but that's how I have carried stuff for the past at least a year or so. And then I have like a dry bag that fits over top of this camera cube. If it starts raining, I can make it totally waterproof. Sometimes I do that if it's super dusty anyway. But it's kind of overkill. If I didn't shoot stuff for marketing and for publishing and stuff, I wouldn't go through all that hassle. I've talked to, I've kicked around the idea a lot of getting the Sony, like you have, just for like, so there's less stress of like having all the gear means I feel like I need to use it and I need to get shots and stuff, or else like why carry it? So it kind of forces you to stop and like set up shots and like do stuff. Whereas I feel like if I had like a more point and shoot that I could still get really good results from, then I wouldn't feel as guilty if I just went riding and didn't take photos, you know?
Yeah, I'm almost the. I feel like I might be the almost the opposite of that. I don't know. It's like because when I have I've brought larger cameras, and I'm always trying to figure out how to bring a bigger camera with me because
Hmm.
I like the lenses. Like my absolute favorite lens to use, if I was only allowed to have one lens, it would be an 85 1.2 or 85 1.4, whatever's available. So Canon has a
Hmm.
85 1.2. That's like I freaking love that lens, and when you ask somebody, hey, what do you want to get for like a landscape lens? Everybody's gonna tell you get a wide angle lens. They're gonna be like, oh, you got to get wide angle. Get
Hmm.
as wide as you can. 24 for example is like perfect landscape lens. But the really cool thing about the larger focal lengths, like your 70 to 200 and the 85, which is my favorite lens ever, is it does an incredible amount of compression. So I'm always taking pictures of my truck or my bike in front of something. It's either like
And that
a cool
pulls
trail.
the
Yeah,
background in.
yeah. It's like either it's a cool like my absolute favorite scene that I stop at every single time is when you go around a corner and you see a trail that like goes up a hill or something. That's like I
Yeah.
100% of the time I stop to take a picture of that. And it's similar if there's like a big like exposed mountain or something, everybody stops for that, right? But the trail is like every time I got to stop for that. And the larger focal lengths, like the 85, they compress it. Is the easiest explanation. So if you were to take a wide angle lens and you take a picture of that trail, you might see just like the trail go doop boop boop, and then that's it. Or maybe you see that like this little piece of trail, and then you see this giant sky above it, right?
Hmm.
You're capturing all this stuff with the longer focal length. It takes that trail and it like makes it super tall in your frame, and you could like fill the entire frame with just like this little piece of foreground. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So it lets you be really selective, and you could take like you can go slightly to the left or slightly to the right, and like and get and crop, remove things or add things. Like you see a tree that's kind of ugly, you can go a little bit to the right and just like cut it out of your picture, and freaking love it. And
Yeah.
also you're basically taking portraits of your
Of your
bike at that
bike.
point. You get these beautiful glamour portraits. It's a portrait lens. Um, I love that. So I'm always trying to figure out how to carry a bigger camera so that I could use that lens on my bike. And yeah, I haven't found a good way, but when I have tried, I just found I didn't take pictures because I'd have to take my backpack off. I'd have to take my camera out, take a picture, put it back in. It doesn't sound like much, but it really adds to the time rather than just zip,
Oh
pull it out,
yeah.
take a picture, zip, put it back in. And I always find myself riding with people are much more skilled at riding than me, so I always feel the pressure to try to keep pace anyway. So when I stop to take a picture, I feel like I'm holding people up all the time. So to make that as quick as possible would be great.
That yeah. I agree with you that that focal length is perfect, and like you've said, that's why I carry the 70 to 200,
Hmm.
because I mean even at the 200 focal length, like that is great for just pulling. The way I describe it is just pulling the background in. It brings the background much closer, and I think you're right. It makes bike portraits look super cool. But also, I don't know. You ride with me, and I'm always chasing you, so I don't
Well,
know.
when we ride, it's like we
Then
have like
then
this
you're like, I can
mutual
bring you. I
agreement.
never feel bad because you're
Dude, yeah,
fucking
if we
slow.
ride, I'll bring like a freaking like I would wear like a hiking backpack with like 7 tiers of photo equipment. I literally don't care when we ride, but like when cause I know that you're okay with me taking pictures, and that's why we ride. It's just part of the fun of capturing it and
Yeah,
making nice pictures. That's a
that's
big
like
part. That's a big part of it. So
that's like Miguel. You remember that backpack? He rocks that thing like the huge backpacking camera backpack, like it did in Colorado, and he fucking rips. And he rides, and he's the same way. He's always like, "Oh, I don't want to slow you guys down." It's like, meanwhile, you can't even keep up with his dust, and he's wearing like a fucking 40-pound pack or some
yeah,
shit.
with
You
like
know?
6 lenses in it, and yeah,
Oh
all this equipment, reflector,
yeah,
yeah,
he's got like everything. It's no big deal.
photo
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
Bust out a
Did I
quick
tell you about what
yearbook picture.
happened to him in Death Valley on this trip? This last trip that we went on?
Oh, I thought I
Yeah.
saw something about him getting in a really bad accident on the highway or something.
Dude, it was gnarly. I was two bikes behind him, and we had just came out of Titus Canyon. So
Mm-hmm.
we came out of Titus, and we got on the pavement, and we were going, I don't know, where we were going. But we were on that stretch of pavement, 2-lane, 2 bikes behind him, and he's on a 690. And all of a sudden, I see his arms start going like this, like full. And I'm like, I was like, what the fuck is he doing? And then there's a car coming the other direction at 70 miles an hour or whatever. And he's like going towards that car. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to watch him die. And the car goes by, and he missed it by like a couple of feet. And then he goes to the shoulder, and he just wipes out on the shoulder. He made it to the dirt. But by the time he got to the shoulder, the carcass of the tire was like all the way off the rim. Mm-hmm. And it was like catastrophic tire failure. But he had brand new like Tech 10s or something, Alpine Stars on. And he twisted his ankle pretty good. But other than that, he was like fine. So it was pretty crazy.
So it was just a flat, basically? It wasn't like he caught like something in there and it let all the air out real quickly?
One of the blocks came out off of his tire. Like one of the knobby blocks.
Yeah.
And
it's like a giant hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So
did you help him fix it or just keep going?
No, everybody stopped. That was one of those that was like so bad that like we changed the tire for him. Like everybody else was like, how about you just sit down? How about you just go hang out over there and don't worry about it. We'll take care of this for you.
Take a breather.
Yeah.
For context, the last time I rode with Spencer and Miguel, we were riding like just in front of him. We just took a right turn. This was again on the road. We just took a right turn off the trail to head into town for lunch, and it was like, I don't know, like a 45-minute ride or something. And you know, we're stopping at corners all day long because that's what you do. But then we're on this last piece of highway. There was no turns. We're just riding into town. We get to town. Miguel was in the back, and we get there and we wait maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Eventually we're like, dude, where is he? And it turns out right as he came off the trail and making that right turn, he got a flat tire. And he's just sitting there fixing the flat tire on the side of the road. And we're eating lunch, texting him, waiting for him to.
Like, where the fuck are you?
Yeah. Hurry up, get here, dude. Our food's getting cold.
Yeah, that's funny. But
anyway,
different ways to carry photo stuff.
Yeah, I need to figure that out. So I have another question for you then. This is nice. I'm learning some stuff. So when you so you've edited your photo, you've uploaded to like Instagram or whatever. Now you have like, 400 likes. You keep checking, you're very happy. What do you do when you get home?
Responding to comments.
Respond to the comments. Get the full context.
Don't forget. Yeah.
How do you like manage your photos in terms of storage, and do you delete them? Do you keep the raw photos? Where do you keep stuff? Do you have a process for that?
Basically, you kind of hit it on the head with the Lightroom. It stores all that shit. I'm one of the people that pays too much money for them to store all of my photos in the cloud, just because managing social accounts and stuff, I end up pulling from old photos a lot. So to have them in the cloud there is like super helpful. And so I keep a lot of photos there. I don't keep all photos there. And then I have like 1 million hard drives sitting around. I keep these solid state hard drives. This is backup. There's backup. There's like, I have ones that just say backup like all the way down.
Is that the order? Is that their like order priority? You have like this. It's like literally a backup of the backup of the backup of the backup.
No, this must have been like one of the first ones that it was just like backup one.
So they're not copies of each other. They don't have the same thing on them, is what you're saying.
No, that's why the backup title is confusing, because they're not actually a backup of anything. This is just raw photos.
So do you have another Do you have another? If that drive goes away right now, do you have those somewhere else?
There's not a backup of the backup.
Oh no, that's not a backup. There's an expression. There's an expression when it comes to backups. 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but this is you technically do not have a backup. I'm very stressed out right now having this
Well,
conversation.
they're
I
in the
literally want to
cloud.
I just want to pause the stream right now and advise you to back up your drives that are not actually backups.
Yes. Okay. Well, maybe we need to start doing a checklist of stuff that Spencer needs to do, and that's right up there. I mean, the only ones that I really care about on here, like family photos and stuff, like the rest of the stuff, my professional stuff. If I lost it or whatever, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I don't think, but I should back it up probably.
I mean, you know, storage is cheap, like super cheap.
Yeah,
So
it's true. So yeah, that's the way I store them. I also have a Dropbox account because I end up sharing photos with companies a lot. So it's really easy for me to just upload them all to Dropbox and then send them the link and say, here you go, do whatever you want, because those are high res versions, and hopefully they don't crop or edit them too much. But anyways, yeah, so I have Dropbox, so some of the stuff's there. Those are my Dropbox account is just for edited photos. I don't put any like raw photos there.
yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna open up one of these here real quick. This is a
Bubbly.
not a LaCroix. It is a different. I forget who makes this. I think it's Pepsi or
Bubbly.
yeah, but Bubbly is like, isn't it owned by Pepsi?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Probably.
so I think this is actually owned by Pepsi, but everybody's getting into the Bubbles game. But anyways, yeah, photo saving stuff. So I have. So do you upload everything through your? When you get home, do you plug everything into your computer and download it, or are you using Lightroom as like a proxy? Are you like when you're out on a trip, basically uploading everything onto your phone, and that's uploading to the Lightroom cloud, or are you just like going through your camera and finding a couple selects and then throwing those into
Yeah,
Lightroom?
when I'm on a trip, I'm just cherry picking. Like I'm looking for that crash or the wheelie or whatever, or the sweet sunset shot with my bike looking just right with that
Hmm.
dust patina on it.
That one that you remembered from yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, there it is. But anyways, those are just cherry picking. And when I get home, I'll plug the memory cards into my computer and then upload all of those raw files into Lightroom, and then I'll go through, edit the ones that I want, and delete the rest after they're backed up.
So
Yeah.
my process is very similar, I guess. Um, yeah, my first step that I've started recently is just taking less photos. So that has like a ton of benefits, saves time for like trying to find a photo, and it's just easier. So what I used to do is if I saw a picture I really liked, I'd take that picture about 1,000 times from like every possible micro angle, and
Mm.
I just stopped doing that, and it's been great. So if there's like it's that time I want to take a cool photo, I'm like, oh, this would make a great photo. I'll take maybe two of them, and I'll just stop and look and make sure they're in focus, and that's great. And then what that lets me do is upload, just stick them all on my phone when I'm out and about, and then I can do the selects using the Lightroom app, like giving them star
Hmm.
ratings or whatever, and then I'll either just never touch them again, and just because anything that's been uploaded to Adobe is going to be safe in my opinion. I'm not worried about it if it
Hmm.
because it's not like it's uploading to their cloud and then it's like copied on one USB stick or whatever. Like that's duplicated already all over the place, so
Yeah.
it's pretty safe. And then my actual photos that I really liked, and then I'm taking the time to like edit and share with people, those I export out of Lightroom as a JPEG at 100% quality, full size. And I have a SmugMug account that I've been using for like 15 years. I mean, forever or whatever. And
Shout
yeah.
out to Baldy.
and uh, I mean, it's the same website. I used to do wedding photography. It's the same website there. It's chrishuntphoto.com, and you can't see any of the galleries; they're all hidden. But whenever I share a photo or something, it's always a Chris Hunt Photo URL, and
Mhm.
all the final JPEGs I upload there, and then that's also another backup. And then the raw files, I just like they're on Adobe, but if they went away, I really don't care. So,
Yeah.
because I was used to shooting film anyway, where like you just get what you get. So,
hmm
um, I'm never
I
gonna go
think
back and
there's
like re-edit a photo.
I think there's something to be said for what you were talking about. Like you said that to me once, like you said something about front end editing, basically, or with like video. You weren't talking about photos. You were talking about how it makes it easier for video. Is like my sort of nightmare. I ride with Corey from Camel ADV. He's got like the wired power for his GoPros and shit, and he puts like a 500 gig card in there, and he just like turns it on and then rides with it on all day, and
Mm,
it like gives me anxiety thinking about that. Like that, I'm like, but well, then you have to look at all of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
Oh my
you said
God.
something to me once about front end editing, and that's why I shoot my point of view stuff the way that I do, like really short, short and sweet, like maybe minute long clips if I'm going through like a really beautiful section or if I crash or something. But like, because who wants that headache? And then I've naturally moved the same way when I'm shooting photos. Like yesterday, I went out on a ride, and it was just for funsies, so I wasn't like looking to get shots or anything. But I took like 10 photos, and like 4 of them turned out.
Hmm.
So like same thing as you. I used to do the same thing where you're like, oh, it looks so good right here, and I got to take like 30 photos to make sure. And then I'd look at them all in Lightroom, and I'd be like, well, fuck, the first one that I took was like that was the one,
It's like the first
like
one and the last one. You're like,
right.
yeah,
And you're like, why did I
your
do all
first
that
photo,
shit
your
in
first
between?
photo when you're like, when you see it, you take it, and then you spend like 10 minutes refining it, and then you get to that last one. It's like, if you just take that first photo, think a little bit and stop taking pictures, then take
Yeah,
that last photo, then that's all you gotta look at. It's 2 photos. It's like a huge time
yeah,
saver. And yeah, like you were saying with the GoPro, almost everybody I ride with rides with some kind of action camera, like a GoPro or like the Sena headsets or something like that. Almost none of them post videos from their rides because it's a pain in the butt to go through all that footage. Because what most people do is they'll buy like a GoPro, and then maybe they'll buy like an extra battery, maybe 2 extra batteries, maybe 3 extra batteries. A nice trick is to not buy any extra batteries, because then you only have 30 minutes of record time. And then as
that's
you're
why
right,
I only bring one battery in the GoPro and
yeah.
one extra battery in case there's something wrong with that battery or whatever. But that's a trick that I learned from you too. Like if you don't have like all the time in the world, it makes
Yeah.
you like think about it.
Yeah, and then and then as you ride, you know, you almost know what this video is going to look like. Once if you're riding down, if you're doing the Idaho BDR and you're riding down a gravel road for 2 hours straight, you don't need to record the whole gravel road. Like,
No,
hit record yourself turning onto the gravel road as you're riding down the gravel, and stop it. 30 seconds later at the most, because nobody even wants to watch 30-second clip, right? You want to, like,
right.
every 2 or 3 seconds you want to be if you're going to show somebody a video, you don't just want to show them like a minute of you riding a motorcycle. You want to show them 2 seconds here, 2 seconds here, 3 seconds here, keep people interested. So as you ride, keep that in mind and be like, okay, I've captured this nice thing for 30 seconds. That's plenty of footage to edit from. And then as you ride, keep an eye out for something specific that's interesting, rather than just being kind of stressed out about, I need to capture everything. I'm doing the BDR. I'm not gonna be able to do this again until next year. I need to make sure I get this all on video. But the problem is then you go back and it's gonna take you like the entire rest of the year to actually watch that footage and put something together. So it's so much
Yeah.
easier when you get back if you have like a bunch of 20-second clips that all have something interesting in it, because you didn't start the video until you saw something. And then yeah, it's just awesome. It's so much easier, and it
Yeah.
feels good too. You don't feel like you're not dreading looking at your video. You're actually kind of excited because every clip is like something cool to look at.
Yeah. And that's the way I like doing it. Yeah, it's much better for me that way. I need to be better like that with photos too, because I still, geek out and take too many photos and stuff. Yeah. So that's a lot of photo info stuff. I've boiled this down, like you've said, trying to figure out the best way to carry stuff and the best way to capture the stuff that I want to share with everybody for like years now. And I feel pretty good about this system that I have, and now it's just like minor tweaks. And also changing for what I'm doing, like now I work for Moscow Moto, so probably do less like shooting of events and that type of stuff. So I think that gives me some freedom to use different stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
What's your I remember, like, you've told me about this and I remember reading about it, but what are you doing at Moscow Moto?
I am an outreach engineer. Yeah, I think that's my title, outreach engineer. I've got a business card here. I should know. Yeah, outreach engineer. It says right there.
Cool.
Yeah, marketing, general marketing, outreach stuff. I came in at the beginning of the year because my time with KTM Twins ended, and yeah, it's been like the best experience ever. And I deal with tour companies, ambassadors, guides, media, all the media people I'm in contact with. So it's pretty funny. It's a lot of who I was in contact with already, people that I already knew in the industry, and just kind of in a different way.
So with the tour companies, is that like getting Moscow Moto luggage on a tour bike, for example, or is that like
Yeah,
would that be one of the goals? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool. Have you heard of Moto
Yeah, and
Safari? I've told you about them, right?
right, yes,
You should talk to those guys. That way, when I do that trip, I have Moscow Moto bags on my bike.
I
That'd be great.
should. Yeah, that
They
would be
have 12.
great.
They do 1,200 GSs for their Africa tours. So
Yeah.
get
Did
like a
you, Blake? Blake,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, he went on a trip with them. That's how I heard of Moto Safari.
Oh, okay.
But, the only problem with getting tour companies bags right now is that all tour companies are like really in a shitstorm right now with the whole global recession and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. I mean, I don't mean now, but yeah,
Yeah,
like the trip I was gonna go on that was canceled, obviously, because nobody could get there.
yeah.
But yeah, just yeah, in general. I guess I don't really know anything about them since I haven't done the tour yet, so maybe I shouldn't recommend them. But I don't know. They take
Okay,
nice pictures. I think that counts for a lot.
so one thing we're gonna do a show again next week, right?
Yeah, I like doing these, so yeah, let's do them and get some people on.
So next week, should I feel like we should do one episode where we like sort of figure out what people want us to talk about. But I think we should get Jesse on or somebody next week. I think that would be fun to get somebody else involved in the convo too.
Yeah, I've got an open message going with Jesse, and he already said he's looking forward to it. So just finding the right day.
Cool. And Pete and Ashley of Moscow Moto, they said that they'd be happy to come on. So that'd
Yeah,
be
and,
fun.
and they're like pros now. They've been doing streams like twice a week or something.
Yeah, I know. Never
So
leaving home tour. Yeah,
yeah, I've been
pretty
watching
awesome.
those. Okay, well, we've done this an hour. Should we wrap it up?
Let's do it.
Okay, this
This
was
was
fun.
fun.
We'll have to get these. Yeah, we'll have to do this again next week. Um,
Yeah,
and advertise a little bit more maybe.
yeah. Tell
All
your
right.
friends.
Yeah, tell your friends. Same time, same
Yeah.
place. Remember,
Thanks for tuning
we
in.
are on a new channel here, Bubbles and Bikes
Yeah,
channel, YouTube channel.
that's
Okay,
right.
I'm gonna fade us out, and then our audio is gonna go away. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye bye.